What up guys, and welcome back to the FitMenCook kitchen. And let me just say, welcome to the fall. It is finally below 80 degrees here in Texas, so the cooler weather is upon us, and fall is one of my favorite times of year because of warming recipes. There's something about just feeling comforted by some warm recipes when it's a really nice chilly 60 degrees. I know for some of y'all, you're like 60 degrees, that's still cool, but no, for us Texans, that's actually some cold weather. Now the fall is also known for comfort food recipes. As the temperature drops, we tend to be a little less active. We tend to stay inside a lot more, and we use food to give us some comfort and some sunshine because there's not a lot going on outside. So today, what I want to do is show y'all how to take a comfort food type of recipe and really just make it over and transform it into something that's calorie conscious, it's nutritious, and equally filling. So today, we're gonna be making an eggplant parmesan meal prep with a meaty sauce and vegetable medley orzo. This meal prep is really easy, so I'm just gonna jump right into the recipe, all right guys? Let's get started. First thing we're gonna do is prep our vegetables for our vegetable medley with the orzo. I'm gonna use some zucchini, gonna use some squash, gonna use some red onion and some colorful bell peppers. And if you wanna save a few bucks, you can use the green bell peppers because they're slightly cheaper than the colorful ones. I'm gonna just chop these into some chunks about 1 inch thick. So chopping up some zucchini, chopping up some yellow squash, some colorful bell pepper, and some red onion. Easy, just like that. And break these apart. And remember guys, there's no food waste here, so whatever you don't use, you want to store away. These bell peppers and onions would go great in some scrambled eggs in the morning time. Don't toss it, just reuse it, repurpose it. And here's a quick pro tip. If you like to eat avocados each day, but you don't eat the whole thing, put the pitted avocado inside the bag with the onion because the onion helps to keep it from turning brown. Grab a bowl, add the veggies to the bowl. We're gonna add a little bit of oil, a pinch of sea salt, some pepper, and some dried thyme. If you want to use fresh thyme, you can use that too. You'll need to use a little bit more dried thyme than you will fresh thyme though. Grab your bowl, shake everything together. You can use your hands, get your hands dirty, or you can do like this. I'm gonna grab a baking tray, line it with some parchment paper, pour in the veggies. Then we're gonna roast these veggies in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes at 420. We want them crisp but tender with some dark edges. All right, got our veggies fresh from the oven. So we're gonna put these back into our mixing bowl and let these cool down just a bit. We don't want them piping hot. Now I'm gonna add in some freshly cooked orzo. And the thinking was here is that a lot of people like to eat chicken parmesan or eggplant parmesan with a whole bunch of pasta. And so they're eating a ton of saturated fat plus a ton of simple carbs. It's not the best. So I thought about what could be a lot more filling, and vegetables are very filling, they're very abundant, plus they're healthy for you. And then orzo as well is high in protein. It's a great carb, but it's also a very filling carb. So we don't have to use as much pasta or much orzo because we're gonna cut it with the roasted veggies. So I'm gonna add in about a cup of cooked orzo, and you could do less if you'd like to. I'm gonna mix this together, and look how beautiful that is. And the cool thing about this salad is you can eat this salad hot or cold. And just to exaggerate the Italian flavor a little bit more, we're gonna add in some fresh basil. So let's take the basil, take a really big leaf, roll it up like, well, you know. Just do a chop. Love this. This is a very refreshing salad. And give this a good stir. And there's our orzo salad. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is prepare our eggplant. This is the star of the dish. Now, I prepared this recipe several times, so really watch closely these steps because it's also a tip on how to get it just right. First thing, we're gonna take off the top of the eggplant. We're gonna slice it in half. Now, earlier versions of this recipe, when I made it, I would just bake them like this, and it just took forever. And I realized that I wasn't allowing the eggplant to breathe. So here is your pro tip. What you have to do is take a knife. We're gonna just basically make some cuts like a grid, like a checkerboard here. And that's going to allow the eggplant to breathe. And also it's gonna help to soften it up. We're gonna be eating this with a fork for our meal prep, and you want this to easily break apart and break off. So this is gonna help out tremendously. And take another baking tray, line it with some parchment paper, and add in our eggplant. And if you're watching your calories or you're watching your fat intake pretty closely, then you can just use some spray oil. If you aren't, and you can be a little bit more liberal with it, then you can distribute about 1 tablespoon of olive oil across all 4 of these. I'm just gonna break this apart a little bit, just kind of rub it in. That's why it's easier sometimes if you were just to spray this. We're gonna add just a pinch of sea salt to each one. We're gonna take our eggplant now and we're gonna bake this in the oven for about 15 to 20 minutes as well at 420. All right, now for our meaty marinara, I'm gonna be using some very lean ground beef. If you wanna use something else, you can, like a buffalo or even a lamb. You can use lean ground turkey, or you can even use some veggie ground. I'm gonna set my skillet on medium-high heat. I'm gonna toss in the meat. I'm gonna chop this up as much as possible. Get this as fine as possible here in the skillet. And so the goal is to maximize flavor, but spend the least amount of time in the kitchen as possible. We're gonna chop up this meat. I'm gonna add in a little bit of garlic now, some fresh garlic, and a whole lot of Italian seasoning. Now we're gonna pour in our canned tomatoes. These are big, huge, chunky, whole tomatoes. You can also use crushed tomatoes. The thing about the whole tomatoes though, it's good to have them explode because it creates this really nice, thick, rich sauce. I'm gonna pour in now about a cup of water, like this. And it needs to be hot enough to get these tomatoes to explode. And when they begin to explode and soften, it's gonna thicken up our sauce. So when this comes to a simmer, we're gonna reduce the heat just a little bit to medium, and we're gonna cover and cook for about 15 to 20 minutes. Everything's 15 to 20 minutes here. Our timer's going off, so that means we need to pull out our eggplant. So you see how it's actually kind of baked open a little bit, which is gonna make it much easier for us to cut with a fork for our meal prep. All right, now what is Parmesan without some breadcrumbs? So again, we're gonna keep this calorie conscious and just give the taste and the texture and the essence of the breadcrumb. So I'm gonna spray these with a little bit of olive oil. What I'm gonna do is sprinkle on a little bit of breadcrumb on top of each one. I usually use some wheat breadcrumbs. I'm gonna lightly spray this one more time. I'm gonna put this back into the oven to bake for about 5 to 7 minutes, just to brown the top of it. Let's check on our sauce. And they're soft enough now that you can just gently mash them with the spatula and they break apart. And continue to cover and cook and reduce the heat to a low simmer. Then after about 20 minutes, what you're gonna do is take the sauce off the heat and then just let it thicken up. Now, let's bring our eggplant out. Nice golden crispy top. All right, now with this freshly out of the oven, we're going to add our meaty sauce. Get yourself a nice scoop. As this sauce cools down, it thickens up. So don't be alarmed if your sauce is kind of watery at first. Finally, we're gonna add in our cheese. I'm gonna be using a mixture of some freshly grated Parmesan and some mozzarella. Put these back in the oven and bake these for about 6 to 8 minutes until the cheese has melted. Voila, yeah buddy, wow. Now that's some comfort food. And some of our Orzo veggie medley to our meal prep container, and one of our loaded eggplant parmesans. This is our eggplant parmesan meal prep with an Orzo veggie medley. This right here, calorie conscious comfort food at its finest. Perfect fall time recipe to say hello to cooler weather. All right guys, that is it for today's video. I hope that y'all enjoyed it. If you like meal prep videos like this, then I want you to do an uppercut on that like button below. And I also want you to comment below your ideal side for eggplant parmesan. I made this amazing Orzo veggie medley, but I want to know what's on your mind. Give us your ideas so that we can take them and all learn and grow and thrive together. All right, guys, thank y'all for watching. Until next time, I want y'all to keep it healthy, but of course, never, ever boring. Boom! Bye, y'all.